is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. Next item is the adoption of agenda. Can someone pass that the Nelson Police Board accepts agenda as presented? Karen, seconder, Marta. All in favor? Okay, and Janice, I assume we'll just assume she's saying yes there. Adoption of minutes. Can someone move that the Nelson Police Board accepts the minutes of March 4th as presented? Marta, seconder, Eric, all in favor? Okay, pass. Okay, the next item is public input. And we have a guest here today, Mr. Adrian Johnston. Thank you.
Although it's all the same clan.
Okay, all right. And yeah, so thank you for joining us, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you. First, allow me to apologize. This is all very technical. I'm a software engineer, and so I sort of think about these things in the same way you guys think about physical security. So I'm going to start with going over your existing information technology policy. You have the City of Nelson has a I wouldn't call it a cybersecurity policy, but it has a computer use policy. Before coming here, just not to go over the same material that you guys already had, I thought I'd review it. One concern I had was that you allow home users to connect in using a VPN. Depending on the level of security that you're looking for, this is actually a pretty questionable practice. I'm going to describe some malicious tactics. It might sound a little bit shocking if you're not used to them. But one of the things that you can do, if you were to actually go after a department in particular, for example, I could pose as a recruiter or try and contact one of you or some member of the department individually, and then try and use malicious files or other means of communicating with them directly. And then that would get me onto their personal computer. Even though they're working at home, they're not on any kind of secure network. That would get me a foothold. And then from there, when they use a VPN, I can get in. So it's kind of an issue. There's strategies, there's techniques to harden this kind of thing, but this is a pretty low level of security in general. The other tactic that's often used is what's called watering hole attacks. So, for example, you might go after the local newspaper's website, and then from there you start going after people in town. But what you do is you just scan for people that you're actually interested in. Again, members of the police force, government officials. So it's allowing people to use their home computer to connect into police networks. It's a little scary. Again, it's a network policy issue. I'd be curious to see what the city thinks about that, but this is what I got from looking over the system. I've talked to people in San Francisco when I was working down there who had to deal with a high level of with adversarial agents, people working really hard to get into their systems. And some of the stuff you see is people leaving a USB drive in your parking lot. And that device, once you plug it into a computer, will just take control of your computer, put in a backdoor, allow remote access. So it's the same. It's kind of similar to what you guys think about when it comes to like maybe somebody following you into the police department. But there's other kinds of things that can be done with computer hardware that are similarly scary. And I guess so the reason I'm bringing this up is this is kind of a small town police department. I don't think you guys have ever had to deal with that kind of thing. So it's something just something to consider. Again, I can leave you with this document here. It's quite detailed. I don't know how much, if I really want to go through everything in it, but I do want to, maybe I'll try hitting a few more high level recommendations. One of the main things would be having different levels of security in your networks. For example, the city is what I would describe as a low security network. Administration, kind of the routine tasks that you guys are normally doing, I would prefer you had a medium level of security for that. And then there's other things, access to government databases that are highly sensitive. You might want to have a higher level of security for that. The main thing that comes up in computer security, and trust me, I've spent the last 30 years paying attention to what's going on in the world of computer security. So this is the number one thing, which is that you need to have a system that controls what computers are talking to which computers. And this is not something you normally see in a civilian network infrastructure. But when you hear stories about like major hacks targeting large corporations, the people that actually survive and manage to shut it down and don't get hurt are people who have this kind of infrastructure in place where they have what we call a network switch instead of a router. So a switch is something that actually says, I'm going to take inbound communication from one machine, and then I'm going to decide what communication is allowed from that machine to another machine. Whereas most of the networking equipment that you guys are used to working with is what's called a router, which just basically provides sort of open-ended communication. For example, what you guys are doing here with wireless equipment. Any one of these machines can at any time talk to another one of these machines, and there wouldn't be anything in the security architecture that would say, hey, what the hell's going on here? And so this is, as I said, this is probably the most fundamental security mechanism in place. Is if I've somehow got a foothold on your iPad and I'm now in here thinking, oh, great, now I'm going to go around the room trying to see who else's iPad I can get into. That's the kind of thing that a switch topology networking system would be designed to get control over. So I'm sitting here watching you guys use a lot of wireless devices, and I've got about a half a page of things that I could read you that would describe a highly secure environment. I don't know if I want to drag you through all the details in the context of this meeting, but I guess that's one of the things that I would recommend is not using wireless devices that have this kind of access. It depends on the day. I haven't done any research lately into the security of wireless access, but not so long ago, the main thing to do was to simply wait until one of these devices decided to reconnect to a wireless access point. They're designed to be secure in general, but we've had issues with the cryptography and the security around when you first turn the device on and when it first connects. I don't know what Apple's doing. There's different levels of security. There's what's called WPA2. There's different spoofing techniques where you provide a wireless access point with a lower level of security and then trick the device into accepting a lower level of security when it tries to communicate. It's tough. Again, I've worked in environments where we've actually gone and set up a Faraday cage and said, that's it. You have to keep this device in a box. It's a little bit hard for me to say you have to have wire mesh on the windows here, but it's something to think about. Ideally, you should, so every one of your computers has a sort of like a phone number built into its network chip. And what you can do is whitelist every device that's allowed to connect in according to that number. It's called the MAC address. This is a fairly fundamental level of security. One of the original techniques for breaking into a network is actually just to follow somebody into the building. And that would be difficult here. I congratulate you guys on that much. And then install your own equipment somewhere in the building. So that turns into a basic form of defense. Anyways, I've got a lot more detail here about how to set up and configure a switch. Another important thing to consider about is logging all of the activity in the system. Once you have an intruder in the system, it becomes being able to kind of go back in time and figure out what happened, where did that happen, and try and isolate, like, is the coffee maker over there actually talking to our wireless network? Kind of becomes important. And then with that kind of logging, you can set up some kind of security response. So if you have a policy in place that says, hey, if the coffee maker keeps trying to talk to everybody's equipment, perhaps we should have somebody in here looking for that. Okay. So after this, I'm going to talk about two more things. One is what we call a advanced persistent threat. And an advanced persistent threat is state-sponsored hacking groups And this has actually turned out to be a fairly interesting phenomenon that we're seeing in the world. And this is something that I'm kind of worried about right now in terms of Canada and our general overall cybersecurity, particularly when you look at our relationship with Russia and our relationship with Iran. This may seem somewhat esoteric if you haven't experienced these kinds of things yourselves. Recently, we believe the Russians almost hacked pretty much every server in the world using some incredible techniques. These people go to, it's really mind-blowing when you hear the stories of what a nation state is capable of. And so that's kind of more of like one of these outside getting hit by an asteroid type concerns. But it is possible at some point that Iran, Russia, or one of these players just decides they're going to go and do something crazy. You have to carry on with your normal lives. It's hard to stop them. But that would be one of those days where you suddenly felt grateful that you'd kind of done everything you could. In particular, the kind of stuff that I was talking about in terms of having a switch in place. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about, kind of trying to keep this quick, is we've had some remarkable breakthroughs with artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, and I just find this scary. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you're all familiar with Claude, Anthropic's AI. It's a lesser known artificial intelligence than OpenAI. What we're finding is that this AI is better than most cybersecurity experts when it comes to hacking. And Anthropic themselves has admitted that they're concerned about how to release this into the world, because there isn't, the moment we hand this out to the general public, anybody potentially is better than the best cybersecurity expert that you could hire right now in terms of trying to break things. And so we're looking at like, how do we release this to, certain corporations, people that are responsible for core infrastructure, then we got to release it to open source projects, et cetera. So we might be kind of on the leading edge of a wave of very strange things. And this stuff is happening every day now, at least in my news feed. People just basically saying, yeah, pick a target, watch this, that AI just hacked it. And it's difficult. A lot of the modern tech stack actually operates on open source software, which is run by volunteers. And then you have these large corporations with billions of dollars suddenly turning over these tools that are just handing out kind of lists of possible security vulnerabilities. And these volunteers are sitting there saying, well, we don't even have time for this. This is crazy. So there you go. That's the world we live in. I figured I'd give you guys a bit of an update. I think it is something worth thinking about. My one bit of advice I'd give you personally is I think the RCMP should actually be involved in these kinds of concerns. I actually don't see this as one police department, something that's appropriate for one IT person to really look at. I think this is something more that should be looked at sort of as a Canada-wide level, or potentially we've got a number of intelligence agencies that should have an idea what's going on with this kind of stuff and should be able to provide advice for this. So that really would be it for me, is if the RCMP could just come out and say, hey, this is our little manual, this is what we think would work. Okay, all right, that's it for me. Please, I guess I'll return.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for attending and sharing that information and knowledge with us. We definitely will be, taking it into consideration. And I'm just wondering, before you step back, whether anyone has any questions. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys want to take your time to show me.
Anything further before we go to the next agenda item on that? Okay. So business arising from previous meetings. we have a BCAPB resolution. And we had talked about this at the last meeting, that we were drafting something, and we have a draft. And so I assume everyone has taken a look at the wording. And so unless there's questions, can I get a motion to move that the board accepts the resolution as presented and provides it to the BCAPB for consideration? Marta, seconder Eric, all in favor? Passed. Okay, the next item is for information, and this is the police board service and policy complaint process feedback. There is an email attached to the agenda, which was posted on the website, the department website, on March 12th, 2026. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments. Karen?
It went out to, was also emailed out to the 7 organizations that we talked about at the community engagement meeting. I've reached out to everyone of the 7 organizations that received that. 2 have actually just sent in feedback to Shiloh and I. And as I was coming in, I got a phone call from one of the other organizations. So just reminding them to have a look at it, and nothing, I mean, for the most part, everyone thought it was okay. It is on the agenda for the EDI committee's April 21st meeting. I spoke with Lena this morning.
Okay.
She's put it on the agenda. They'll have a conversation and she'll get back to us right away so we hit the deadline.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, anything else? And thank you, Shiloh and Karen, for doing that and following up. We appreciate that. The next item is correspondence, and this is also for information. In your agenda package is the OPCC news release about systemic investigations. And I don't know if anyone has any comments or questions. I understood that this investigation that they would initially be focusing on would apply to all police departments, but I don't know if we have any further information on that.
That's correct. It's every police department's getting the same. Will be requested for the same information as it moves forward, but you can see the report's not planned to be up until 2027, so it's going to be a bit of a long process.
And Chief, do you have any initial information on like how much of a process or ask it will be in terms of what they might be requesting in terms of resources, either documents or personnel, or is that to be determined?
To be determined, but it was embargoed information to start with, so they sent out the terms of reference, and I did ask that. It wasn't very clear in there. They laid out what they would be looking for, but it didn't lay out the process and what they would be asking the departments to do as far as gathering it and supplying it. So I'm still waiting for an answer back on that.
Okay, so when we have more information, we might be coming back to this item. Anything else on this? All right, the next item is the Chief Constable report.
Okay, I have a bit more stuff to update in the cameras, so in the interest of time, I don't think I have a whole lot more to add as to what was submitted, other than I just also wanted to, I guess, bring up that for our social media sites, that Constable Edwards had received the Academic Achievement Award in her recent graduation out of 61, so she had the highest marks in the academy for her class, which was quite exceptional. And the executive director for the GIBC commented to me afterwards that however we're doing our recruiting programs, they're very impressed with, and said the quality of recruits that we continue to send has been pretty impressive, considering a small department competing against 60 some other candidates in the recruiting classes, that they continue to be at the top of the class and win, valedictorian and now the Academic Achievement Award and things like that. So just a nice note to get, and nice recognition for the department on our recruiting program that we overhauled about 3 years ago.
Should we use that as a testimonial on our website?
We're trying.
Now we just have to make sure no one else nabs her.
Right.
Yes, I think, some of the hiring process and that sort of staggered entry through the CSO program and dispatch and some of those things has definitely gone a long ways to, helping us develop our people internally a bit before they go to the JIBC as well. So, I think they start out with a bit of a, leg up on maybe some of the other candidates being exposed to a lot of things here and some familiarity. And then I also think it's a great starting point for them to come back. They're not coming back to a community as a new constable that they haven't been in before. They've established those community contacts and bridges and know their way around and know the department and know the people in the community. So, I think it's a win-win-win. That's it.
Okay, that's it for your report. Okay, and it is in the agenda package. So is there any comments or questions for the chief on his report? Okay. And get a motion then to accept the chief constable's report as provided. Karen, Eric seconds, and all in favor. Passed. Okay. Inspector's operational report.
For the YPAC position, we submitted our first quarter reporting yesterday. So I'll have a bigger update next month. I'll have that report to me. So I'll give a bigger update then. As far as the community safety officer goes, they participated in the Polar Plunge. They took a course on child interviewing, which will help them later on if they're successful moving through the JI. They conducted proactive foot patrols. They've assisted with numerous files. They did their fingerprint duties, served subpoenas, and they also developed an educational PowerPoint presentation on scams and frauds aimed at seniors. So they're going to be providing that PowerPoint to the seniors community. Victim services, 26 new clients, various files, taking on a variety of files from frauds, suspicious persons to arsons. Restorative justice, no new referrals. They sent out an email to all the supervisors, encouraging members to use restorative justice, and they're going to be meeting with all the platoons to encourage them to look at restorative justice as a potential avenue as far as instead of criminal charges. Operationally, the chief stole some of my thunder. Constable Edwards is back from block 3. I don't need to repeat that. The mascot will be here next week. So at the next board meeting, I plan to wear it and introduce it. Currently have 14 kids signed up for the NHL Street, and we really haven't done any advertising. So advertising is going to start next week. So we're already doing great. Chronic Property Offender Intervention Initiative, so the CPOI program, which we're piloting with 2 other communities in BC. 3 of our 5 individuals are currently in custody, which is success.
Just in regards to NHL Street too, I forgot to mention to you, I've had a few people reach out to see if we need volunteers to assist. Cool. So great, just remind me.
And that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for the inspector? Janice?
Yeah, could you tell me, Inspector, how many children you're wanting to sign up for the NHL hockey?
I was hoping 50 would be a great number if we had 50 kids.
Okay.
But I would go more if we can. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't set it at a limit of 50, but 50 would be a great number.
Okay, and do we have the info on this somewhere in our minute? I saw it somewhere that I probably don't look at very often. It just crossed my desk. Is it possible for somebody to send me via email a little bit more detail about it? Sorry to put that on your shoulders, Shiloh. I see Shiloh nodding. And in terms of the Revoy program, so we had identified obviously 5 people in the community, and you said 3 of 5 are in custody. I'm just wondering, can we add more people to, like, can we add to the list?
Currently, no, because it's in the pilot stages. We're limited to 5. but one of the people we've identified on the list is sort of tentatively moved out of our area. So we're just waiting for a definitive whether they're coming back or not, and then we could potentially add somebody else. But at the moment, we're limited to 5.
Okay, but if 3 are in custody, doesn't that just leave 2? Like, I'm not really clear on how the program works, I guess, is a little bit of.
So while they're in custody, they're still being monitored by probation, and they have
Oh, okay,
additional
right,
services
okay.
while in custody. So it's the
Yeah,
hope
it's all
that
about probation.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you. Every now and
yeah.
then I just need a little reminder, because I did read all of the information about the Revoy for the violent offenders, and yeah. Thank you. I just need to update periodically. So we might be able to add another one, but 5 is our number. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the inspector? Okay, can someone move Marta to accept the inspector's report as presented? Seconder Eric, all in favor? Passed. Okay, the next item is the board committee reports. And the first one is Director Harris on finance committee update.
Yeah, so I'll start off on the term of references in there now. Did anyone have any questions on it?
I have one. I'm interested in 3.1.3 about reviewing strategic plan to determine its full cost implications over its lifespan. I just wonder how realistic it is to be able to make those projections at the beginning of a new strategic plan.
I think the purpose of that was to ensure there's some cost component analysis done when the strategic plan's going up. I don't think it's there's a like a set amount to spend. I think it was the purpose is more just to make sure that there's involvement there.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Any other questions on the terms of reference? Okay. Not, can someone move that the board approves the finance committee terms of reference as presented? Marta, seconder Karen, all in favor? Passed. Okay, the next item, the police board budget. Director Harris.
Which I'll kind of go over with the next item as well, but there is the budget there, and I think it's been static for a number of years. I don't know if it's ever been reviewed. So I think we kind of have to discuss what we think a reasonable amount would be. Because you can see, I think we're over for this particular year, and that doesn't include the next item, which is potential board stipend, which we'll discuss as well.
In terms of being over for this year, what is that based on?
There's the breakdown in that. It's in the notes.
And what is our revenue based on?
Is that just money that's allocated in the budget? The 25,000?
I think that's my understanding. But that's just what we have allocated, yeah.
So you're looking at the specific line item for the board.
Yeah, 10.10. B, page 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I think typically we send 1 to 2 directors to the Canada-wide one.
Okay, so this is the proposed budget based on, like, without any additional money for this proposed stipend?
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason this is over is because of the 10,000 in legal that is there.
Yes.
Okay, so, okay.
And I think that the item just hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
Or that the revenue allocated hasn't been updated in a number of years.
Right, so does anyone know how long the budget sort of line item of $25,000 has been in existence for the board? Shiloh?
It's been at least the 10 years that I've been working. So it's been that amount for quite a while. I know that the CFO and I spoke and we were going to increase it based on the fact that we were going to have more directors. Because those directors, it requires extra travel and extra training. The reason for this budget being over is the legal, of course, but also the cost of travel and the cost of the conferences. They have gone up significantly over the years. Conferences are trying to be cost neutral, and it's expensive to run a conference. At the Edmonton one alone, I was shocked that the price came in at, I think, $1,035, which is, I'd have to go back and check, but I think the previous years is maybe $850. So it's a significant jump. And then we have travel on top of it, and your hotels. You're lucky if you get a hotel under $300 a night.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
I just tried to book a hotel room for Vancouver for June the 18th I have to come back. I'm away. My usual hotel, that night it's $1,660. Sleeping in the airport.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's what happens with the FIFA World Cup.
Hmm.
Okay, so do you have this is for information, but is there any consideration by the Finance Committee in relation to maybe coming up to the next round of budget in the fall, that this will be looked at a little bit more closely as to what might be reasonable going forward, and if there's some sort of, whether it's cost of living or what, like some sort of thing that you sort of rotate or consider every year to make this a little bit more in line with.
I think that's in the term of reference as well.
Yeah.
So that's an amendment. Discuss about the next topic, which is stipend, which would impact it as well.
Yeah. So go ahead and speak to that.
So I don't know I think it's just in the notes here. The Finance Committee, with help of Christian, we came up with a few potential options. This one was the simplest. The other option is always zero. So it's just for kind of discussion. If anyone has any comments or suggestions or.
Yeah, and I could just add that the Finance Committee did have like a comparative analysis of all of the other boards in BC. And the Nelson Police Board is an outlier. There's a couple others, I think, maybe who currently don't have any, reimbursement for the board. I mean, these are basically like honorariums, obviously. They're not significant sums when it comes to individual contributions, but they are some recognition. But, some of the bigger boards obviously, are getting reimbursed more significantly, which makes sense. So it's, I think, trying to find the balance about what makes sense for a board of our size, and how we also keep within the standard of what's happening within the province when it comes to reimbursing board members. And this is above and beyond, the actual expenses that were just shown in the previous table.
And when comparing to all the other ones, this would probably be on the lower end. And I found the other ones were overly complicated. For meetings of 1 to 2 hours is this payment, 3 to 4 is this, it was just, I don't know, simple. And then there is a consideration if you kind of skip a meeting.
I remember seeing this, but now I'm having trouble finding what page it's on.
Oh, it's in the actual
It's just in the
agenda.
Yeah.
It's on the
thank you.
agenda item.
Thank you.
Yeah, under for discussion.
Thank you.
So, any questions or comments for Director Harris on either the board budget currently or the proposed board stipend?
Remind me what the budget goes from which month to, it's not like a calendar year. Is it January 1?
Yeah, it's
Is it calendar year? So there are a number of, we're missing a number of directors. So that will also influence, if we don't see someone appointed until September, they're likely not going to use that money that's allocated in that September to end of December, right? Like when I think of me, I don't think aside from photos, there shouldn't have been any costs incurred for me up until this point, right? So, and I started in September through to now. So some of that budget isn't going to be used likely.
Yeah, you're referring to the actual budget, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, I guess for the
Like right now, we're showing that we're at a loss of 8,900. Well, if you take out, there's $7,000 in 2 directors that aren't even named.
That's for
So it's not-
the conference in Edmonton.
and it's,
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry,
So,
sorry.
yeah,
I was
so-
thinking that was,
yeah, sorry, usually for the Canada conference, if it's like, because I went to Halifax, but I just went because the costs are probably, I don't know if they were more than that or not. Because it was significant travel. We're in Victoria, I think we only had Devon, but we could essentially afford more people.
sorry, I was just looking at it thinking
Yeah.
that was set aside for unnamed directors that weren't going to be.
Oh, okay.
So, and the legal costs are not baked in at this point. So that's an amount that was allowed up to a maximum. So we don't know the actuals there. So this is
Yeah,
a
it's
point
just a
in
budget,
time.
right? Yeah.
And I guess if we were to, like, do you have a suggestion about in terms of the board stipend? Are you thinking that this is something that would start now for this year on a pro rata basis? Because obviously it's Jan 1 to December 1. So if it was brought in this year, it would be pro rata, obviously. Or are you thinking backdated to Jan 1? Or do you have a suggestion about sort of timing on this if people were agreeable to it?
I mean, well, the other thing I thought of that I brought up is, I mean, if someone joins partway through the year, you'd probably prorate it.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, no, it's kind of up to the board, what they think.
So the committee didn't have a specific recommendation in terms of time?
No, I think it was more just discussing what everyone thought.
Mhm.
So I have a hard time voting to give myself money when it's such a tight budget. That's my thought.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of my thought as well, but this is a board, so
Yeah.
that's kind of, it's brought up, and I was hoping if I could spend mine on a coffee machine here, I would be allowed to.
Well, I think that is a good option. I think that one of the reasons to offer a stipend is to reduce barriers to public service. That's why city councilors and mayors are paid. If it were volunteer city councilors and volunteer mayors, we could only have the elite serving in public office. And
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I will, once Marta's done. So Marta, just keep going. Finish your thought.
so I think that this supports equity and recruitment and retention of directors. And folks like Director Bennett and Director Harris, who may say, I'm not comfortable with this, could have the option to donate it back to the foundation.
Shiloh?
So keep in mind that the budget that the board line item is actually under the police budget that has been approved by the board back in November, as well as by city council. So to make changes, I don't believe you can. Yeah, I think this is for a discussion for your upcoming budget cycle starting, which would go like September, you would start looking at that. So as much as, I see the value of having the stipend, your budget's already set.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, and I think this is really a discussion item for, does this make sense? When is the right timing, et cetera, et cetera. And Janice, I don't know if you had your hand up or not on that. No, okay. So
I think Shiloh's correct, just that Shiloh is correct, that this is something that needs to, I think, be put in the budget for the next year instead of trying to figure out where we get the money from halfway through the year at this point.
Yeah, okay.
So can we move this forward then to the September discussion? Or
Yeah, so this was just for a discussion today, not for any voting per se, but I think just for the finance committee to take into account the various comments and to consider how this would be included or not in a updated line item for the board budget. I will just say, for positions like the chair, it is a lot of work. And, you know, it's nice that people feel that they can volunteer their time, but at the same time, it is nice to have some recognition. This is not, you know, going to be something that, you know, I'm going to live off of or whatever, or the vice chair, whatever. But when you have those positions, it is nice to be recognized and compensated somewhat for your time, especially when you're putting in a lot of time. So I would agree with Marta that from a, you know, retention of board members and even attraction, like some sort of recognition that your time is valuable does make a difference to some people. So, you know, I just want to put that on the table as well for finance to consider. Okay, anything else on a discussion point before we move off that item? Okay, thank you. So the next item is just the governance, policy, and risk management. And basically, this is just to give an update on the fact that we have had a meeting in relation specifically to the policy review, and we did come up with an approach that you will see in more detail on the in-camera in terms of how we would go about the board being involved or approving certain policies where the board has some oversight responsibilities per the police standards. And so we met with the chief and Shiloh, and we have come up, you know, with an approach that I think works for everyone, and hopefully will facilitate approvals and going through those policies in a timely manner. Any comments or questions?
Thanks for these notes, Shiloh. You can always tell when Shiloh's touched something.
Okay, Human Resources Committee, Director Abel.
Yep. So we met on the 12th of March and started to discuss how to approach performance review planning for the chief constable, and we learned the executive assistant also technically reports to the board. So we also discussed that as well.
Any comments or questions on HR? Okay, moving on, community engagement, Director Bennett.
we have a meeting on March 10th. Most of the meeting was focused on that policy that we need to get out for public review. But we did identify a couple of other priorities that we'll work on in months.
Comments or questions?
You mentioned a list of 7 stakeholders. Is that something you can test?
The EDI committee anchors, the school district. No, Nelson Cares was under EDI. We can have had conversations with community services.
NCS?
Yes.
No, okay.
Yeah. West Kootenay, it was through CBAL, so it's West Kootenay local immigration, IRCC programs, and then the Foundry.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's great.
Good
memory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and I don't know if there is any update from the BC Association of Police Boards.
No update. Next meeting.
Okay, so new business. There is a proposed board calendar, and this is like an annual sort of basic work plan that the board and each committee would follow. So I think this is just up for discussion right now. It's an original, like an initial draft that between Shiloh and I we've come up with based on the terms of references for each committee. But the intention here is really, as an overall board, is that we can look at ourselves and say, okay, this is kind of what the year looks like. And then depending on, specific items that, might happen year to year, you sort of can see how that might fit into your overall basic work plan. So, so this is a work in progress, but I don't know if anyone has some initial comments or thoughts on the draft.
This is really exciting. Thanks, Christine and Shiloh, for your work on this. My question, do we really meet in July?
Yeah, I think we don't meet in August.
Okay, so we're on August. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the timing of the budget, so July really is the time to have the budget conversation. Okay. I guess I wonder.
Well, that's the Q2 financial.
Yeah, so I guess I wonder if we need to add something in June around really kind of putting some more concrete proposals together for the budget.
And Eric, you might want to help here, but in terms of the annual budget for the following year, I believe that is sort of worked on through the summer months with the chief. And then the September meeting is when we get a more fulsome sort of breakdown. But yeah, do you have any thoughts about a June?
I mean, I'm already going to start on stuff now, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good idea.
So what I would suggest is if each committee can take a look at their column and just see if it makes sense, and if there is any feedback, can you please forward it to Shiloh and just copy me? And, we will try and update this. And then, once we sort of get some initial feedback, we can kind of bake this into our policy manual and then, keep it as a working document. Okay. And then Canadian Association of Police Governance. So yeah, Shiloh, you did reference this. That registration cost is $1,025. So yeah, do you want to speak to this?
I put it in there so that you would be aware of the dates and whether or not you'd be interested in attending. And then if we had to, if only one of you wanted to attend, then that would be easy. But if we had more than one person, we may have to look at the budget and see if it's doable to send more than one. I mean, ideally, it's good to send more than one person so that you can potentially go to different breakout sessions, but I guess it depends on the budget.
Yeah, so as chair, I am planning to attend. I do feel a little put out that it has to be Edmonton and not Halifax. I'm just kidding, Edmonton. If there's any Edmonton people out there.
They've got a great indoor mall right here.
Yeah. So yeah, no, joking aside though, I will be attending. And so, yeah, if people can start to think about whether
the agenda looks great.
It does.
Yes,
Yeah.
it looks like a
I
very
would be
good agenda.
interested, and I'm not going in May, if that makes a
Okay.
difference in the budget shuffle.
Okay. Yeah, and if there's anyone else interested, please let Shiloh know. And what is the deadline for us to make a decision on that, Shiloh?
Registration just opened this week, or last week, sorry. So we have until, I believe, I gotta double check, but I think it's end of June that the early bird ends. So it'll be ideally the end of June.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a couple more meetings before we have to have final numbers. Okay, anything else on that? All right. Well, I'm going to add in a late item. And so as the HR committee has been, understanding who our employees are, namely the chief and Shiloh, we wanted to recognize that both of them are celebrating, well, somewhat in the past, celebrating anniversaries of employment. And so for Chief Fisher, and if I've got this wrong, correct me, but I believe it was your 5-year anniversary with the department as of March of this year. So we just want to recognize the milestone, your dedication and commitment to the department, and your ongoing leadership for the department, and certainly your involvement with the board, and say thank you. So once we close the meeting, we are going to have some cake and celebrate you in that way. Marta did suggest donuts, but I didn't want to go to that, since we want to be food inclusive, and I got a dairy-free and wheat-free quinoa cake from us. So hopefully we'll enjoy that instead. And even though Shiloh, you're not here, I do want to just signal that Shiloh had her 10-year anniversary in 2025. Thank you. I think there would be no one who would take issue with the fact that I would say you're an invaluable resource, certainly sort of a steady hand here that we all rely upon, both, within the department and the board. And, we also want to say thank you very much for your commitment and dedication to the department and the board. And we will be celebrating with cake when you are back, hopefully in May. So if you have a preference for cake, let me know. So thank you very much. Okay. So with that, is there anyone who would like to just move that we are going to close the meeting to the public, and pursuant to 69(2) of the Police Act, that we continue our meeting in camera? Eric, second Karen, all in favor? Okay, and just finally I need a mover for the regular meeting of the police board be adjourned, and the next meeting is held on May, sorry, it doesn't actually say it on here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, okay, we will find the date here.
It's not May yet.
Maybe the
May
6th?
6th?
6, yeah.
That's the first Monday, May 6th, 2026. Okay, who is the mover? Marta, seconder Eric, all in favor? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
If you're